Hey people, I got the Qiaodan Wind 3.0 TR a while ago. So far, I've been using this one more. I've logged about 79 kilometers in these. I've been using them for easy runs, a tempo run, and some long runs. I also did a few strides to see how they handle at VO2 max efforts. I actually saw the Wind 3.0, not this TR version first. The Wind 3.0 is the successor to the Wind 2.0, and since I already own the Wind 2.0, I figured that the 3.0 non-TR might offer the same experience with only some slight improvements, so I got the Qiaodan Wind 3.0 TR instead. This shoe isn't really surprising. For the price, it delivered beyond what I expected, just not in a way that's completely surprising. Unlike the Wind 2.0, which stood out for its up-tempo performance and ease at slower paces, this one leans more towards a mellow side of things, which is also okay for tempo. What I'm describing is just your typical daily trainer or a traditional daily trainer. Qiaodan usually has a good balance of response in their foams. Other Chinese brands tend to just slap low-quality PIBA or TPU foams into their shoes, which often results in them being too firm, too harsh, or just flat overall. Some go for a soft plush feel but end up making the shoes just too mushy and too inefficient. I'm not trying to trash them though, it's just how these budget shoes work. You can't expect premium quality plus excellent performance for a very low price. Qiaodan consistently does a great job and they designed a well-balanced, cheap trainer here. I'm starting to like this brand. They're up there in terms of quality and performance. Now let's go over the specs of the shoe before diving deeper into my thoughts. The stack height on my US 10 is 39mm in the heel and 34 in the forefoot, giving it a 5mm drop. This includes a 4mm insole inside. The weight is around 228 grams for a men's US size 8. My pair on a US size 10 weighs around 257 grams, pretty light for a daily trainer, even with some decent padding. The upper is made of a jacquard mesh, similar to the Wind 2.0, but it's not a single layer unlike the Wind 2.0. This one has another layer beneath this one. There's more material now, but it's still breathable enough. You'll also find suede details on the laces and on the heel, which add a nice touch. I like the laces. They're not too stretchy and they're pretty easy to dial in. The fit is relaxed and soft, same as other traditional daily trainers. It does lack a hole here for a runner's knot. This version has more material and padding, making it a traditional daily. Still, it's a light shoe overall. It's not airy and not very breathable, just breathable enough on semi-hot days, and you also won't feel the cold wind coming in, so this is good enough for your evening runs. The insole is also a thicker EVA material, making it feel more cushioned, but you also get less response than a thinner, stiffer insole, just like what they used on the Wind 2.0. This provides a comfortable step-in feel though, especially when you're walking and just standing around. When running, you might not get some response, but it doesn't really quite affect the ride and feel that much. The outsole is a CPU material. It's tacky, grips well. I ran on these in the rain and the grip is really solid. It actually feels identical to the Wind 2.0, which also had an excellent grip, even on slightly wet surfaces. I guess they use the same materials here. As for durability, it doesn't look quite good. I already see some wear in the heel area. I usually hit this spot, especially even when walking, because we hit our heels first. I would also walk sometimes in my running spot, so if you add another 3 kilometers to the running spot and another 3 kilometers back home, and those runs were usually 10 kilometers, it adds up. So yeah, I'm not surprised that it's wearing out. What I am surprised though is just how quickly it is. I did start to notice it at right around 40 kilometers. This reminds me of Hoka's outsoles that wear out a bit quicker than other brands. You can still get 500 to 600 kilometers out of them, depends on your usage. With how cheap this is though, I don't think it matters that much. Let's move on to the midsole and continue with my early impressions. The midsole is a supercritical EVA foam they call Q Kung Fu Pro. It feels very airy and a little less dense than the Novablast 5. When I first held it, it reminded me more of the original Brooks Hyperion Tempo. That foam was light and airy, but this one is much softer. And while the Novablast 5 might feel denser on foot, it actually feels lighter than this one. Not to say that this isn't light. This is still a very light shoe. I also noticed the creases around 30 kilometers or after 3 to 4 runs in them. I know it's normal, but I think it was a little bit too early and a little bit too quick. I'm only 62 kilograms and this is a US size 10. I also didn't do any fast workouts then, so I really do think that 500 to 600 kilometers in this shoe is a good estimate before it goes flat. You might be able to take it further though, it depends on your usage. The Wind line has pace suggestions, but they really are just suggestions. If you go slower, this one just gets softer. Faster you go, the more response you're gonna feel, especially in the forefoot. This has a softer bounce that doesn't quite pop. Still, there's some response in the forefoot, probably because there are no cutouts here in the midsole and the outsole, compared to the Novablast 5's midsole, which has cutouts here to give you that pop. Also, the foam in this one is very compliant. I sometimes can feel a little instability while standing, but not to a point where I would say this is unstable. The Wind 3.0's foam, however, is just really stable even when standing, despite really very soft, especially in the heel. The foam of the Wind 3.0 TR isn't like the Mizuno Neo Zen softness. I think I can compare them in the way they are a bit more resilient, meaning that even if this foam really is quite very soft, once you run in them, they tend to firm up a bit, and that's been my experience with the Wind 3.0 TR, that this shoe is soft, not squishy like the Neo Zen, but with its softness, when you run, it doesn't really quite sink in too much. It just has that really soft bounce, doesn't really pop right back immediately, but also doesn't feel inefficient or tiring. It just is well balanced, I guess, in its bounce and its compression. Once this reached 30 kilometers, it actually got softer and more flexible. Right around the creases, I noticed it's totally broken in and molded to my foot or my mechanics. Now, with how the midsole reacts, it translates to a ride that isn't hesitant when picking up the pace, and toe-off really feels good. Despite the forefoot cushioning here, it's got good flex when splaying your toes and driving them to the ground at toe-off. It does have some stack in the forefoot, but somehow I do get some ground feel on it. The ground feel is in a good way, as it's still soft, cushioned enough, and it doesn't bottom out. I don't mean a ground feel that's lacking in impact absorption. For midfoot and heel striking, you'll be pleased with its cushion. It compresses down and doesn't really spring back up right away, but it's not too lazy coming up back again, making it inefficient. In a way, it's like a marshmallowy sensation when heel striking, as the heel is softer, but as I said, it's more resilient than compliant. Leads to a good transition to the forefoot with all that response and nice ground feel. It's not mushy that slows you down or tires you out. It still feels quite light when running. Overall, not a springy shoe, but it does have a little bit of bounce. It just is overall a very seamless ride. To summarize, if you go faster or striking hard, you get more response. Now compared again to the Novablast 5, which excels on both cruising and cushioning, the Wind 3 TR feels just a bit less of a cruiser overall, but it's only when compared. On its own, it's just a reliable cruiser with just soft enough cushioning to take me to the half marathon distance at a very comfortable pace. It sort of sits in the middle ground of softer than expected for its build, but doesn't quite reach that full-on cushion feel. The ASICS Gel Cumulus might fit better as a comparison if by category. They're not the same foams or feel, but it sits in the same spot like the Nike Pegasus, Hoka Cliftons, tier usually found below premium trainers like the Nimbus or Novablast, and usually are cheaper than those. Usually these shoes are closer to boring, but not too boring. Again, it's just at that middle ground. I like these types of shoes because it's just a reliable workhorse built to eat up miles. Again, below their premium daily trainer brothers. And while this is on the same typical daily trainer category, this one is priced way below, like bottom of the barrel prices in some shoe brands. One thing I forgot to mention, this shoe has a nylon shank, but I don't feel it providing stability or correcting my pronation. It's also not very wide in the heel. Heel striking feels pleasant. The foam is soft without bottoming out, so instability isn't going to be a major issue. Closing thoughts on this one, it's a bit less than the Novablast 5, but not too far off. You get the same use cases, just less rebound, a less denser, cushier midsole feel, a tiny bit less efficiency and less plushness in the upper. Then again, the Novablast 5 is a premium daily that does both cushioning and up-tempo very well. You might think it's unfair to compare this to the Novablast 5, but think of it this way. It's just a bit less versus an above standard shoe, which means that the Wind 3 TR is actually that good. For daily runs, I don't have to overthink anything, no need to adjust my gait. This one fits the bill as it's very cheap, no need to worry about clocking in only 600 to 700 kilometers in these. Just get another one. It's just that simple. And by the way, on long runs, they never felt flat because maybe there wasn't that much pop to begin with, and on some strides, it did feel light and effortless. It's very pleasant at 1.5 to 2 hours. This will do at 15 to 21 kilometers, cruising the distance at a very comfortable pace. At 18 kilometers though, I did start to feel it going a little bit flat, but still not harsh. I'll start doing long runs in this though and try to see how long I can take this before going flat. Again, a traditional typical daily trainer, usually found below the premium daily trainer tier. This one is just designed to eat up the miles, then put unnecessary miles on your more special shoes. This is all for now. There's not much else I can say about this shoe. It just works. Obviously, it's designed to be a workhorse. Anyway, keep running, stay fit, and be kind.